Welcome back to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart, and we're at Polka Middle School. This is right outside of Charleston, West Virginia. And the teachers here last year, they walked off the job demanding better pay and demanding better benefits. It really started a movement in other states for teachers to do the same. And as these teachers get ready for their students to come back for a new school year in the coming days, they tell us they're not satisfied.
I want them to come in and kind of make it their own space.
Kendra Broomfield is a West Virginia middle school teacher, one of thousands who went on strike last year. So it must have felt, I mean, to then turn on the TV and then see teachers in other states doing it must have been a moment for all of you, knowing that you had started it.
It was kind of just like, wow, we're just in West Virginia.
The strike ended when the state gave them a raise, but heading into this school year, they're still calling for better benefits from the state's Public Employees Insurance Agency.
Because you increase my salary, then that in turn increases my premium, but you're still cutting things from my insurance that I'm going to have to now pay out of my pocket. That was one of the promises, you know, for us to come back to our classroom, was that they would fix PEIA. So it's kind of the ball's in their court.
Are there concerns that teachers may have to walk off the job again?
There have been talks that we should have walked out, you know, the beginning of the school year, but that wouldn't, you know, we don't want to walk out. We want to be in our classroom.
For people, when they go and vote in November, whether it's here in West Virginia or really any state, I mean, there's a lot of issues that will be across their mind. Why should education be something that they're thinking about when they cast their vote?
Because education is the future. Like we have, I mean, teachers are the first people that your kids see every day.
After teacher protests here in West Virginia and around the country, many teachers did return to their classrooms, but a record number of teachers filed to run for office. Chris Welch talked to two of them about what they hope to accomplish if they're elected.
This past spring, teachers from West Virginia to Oklahoma walked out of their classrooms and onto the steps of state capitals. Oklahoma teacher Jacoby Crowley was one of them.
I don't know if I can be a 20 to 40-year educator. I love my job. I love what I do. But if things do not get better, I might have to start looking at a different career.
If things go the way he hopes they will this November, he will have a different career as a state senator, one who sees education as priority number one.
We have to be fully funded. That's the number one thing.
Crowley is just one of hundreds of teachers nationwide who decided to run for public office this year. In Oklahoma alone, over 100 teachers filed to run, and over half of them made it through their primary races in June, including Crowley.
They're getting frustrated with seeing the lack of support, the lack of funding, and the lack of leadership off of the state legislators in Oklahoma City making those things possible for these educators to be successful.
And educators say it's a frustration that's been building for years. That was the scene back in 2011, right here at the Wisconsin State Capitol, as teachers camped out for weeks protesting Governor Scott Walker's bill that essentially gutted their unions. Ultimately, they were unsuccessful, but the state's head of education saw that as a catalyst and decided to take matters into his own hands.
I believe the best way to fix this is to have an educator as governor of the state of Wisconsin.
Tony Evers is Wisconsin's superintendent of schools. On Tuesday, he secured the Democratic nomination for governor. And will take on Republican Party darling Scott Walker this November.
Education certainly is a huge issue in the state, and it connects directly to the values.
Would you call it the number one issue?
Yes, yeah, no
Why?
question about it. Because it's the issue that threads the needle among all sorts of other issues.
Evers says since 2011, teacher pay in Wisconsin has declined, and state-released data shows teacher health care costs have gone up as well.
So education is the core of what makes this state and our country tick. And if we're not doing a good job at it, we're going to decline as a society.
Back in Oklahoma, Jacoby Crowley, like many teachers, works multiple jobs to pay the bills.
I'm a football coach. I'm a referee, basketball referee. I work at a side gig at a radio station.
But he hopes the voters of Senate District 32 will deem him worthy of just one. Reporting for The Race in Madison, Wisconsin, I'm Chris Welch.
We hear all the time that American students lag behind their counterparts in other countries, but is there any truth to that? Here's Kamasi Aaron with a fact check.
As our partners at PolitiFact dug into this one, they discovered it's tough to measure. That's because there's no international or even national agreement about what really makes a good education. And there are just so many factors to consider. The focus on standardized testing, the amount of time students spend on academics versus extracurricular activities, and the big one, socioeconomics. An education policy professor at Boston College says the reason American students don't perform as well as others is because we simply have more students who come from low-income areas with fewer resources. A Stanford economist supports that idea, saying if you were to compare students from higher income areas across different countries, you'd find that they're pretty much equal. So the conclusion, PolitiFact says that while we have room to improve education here in America, we're not doing too badly when you factor everything in. Kamasi Aaron for The Race.
Still to come, we're going to have a look at homeschooling in America, the families that make a decision to educate their children outside of the classroom. What goes into that decision and what is it like to be your kid's teacher? That's when The Race continues.